Hello, friends, and happy Wednesday, and welcome to today's live level up conversation. Whether you're joining me live or catching me on replay, thanks so much for making the time. Let's dive right in.
Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun. Award-winning financial pro. Get ready. Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Well, hello, friends. It's a new week, and it's wonderful to be here with you. For those of you brand new, welcome. I'm Winnie, your host, an award-winning financial pro, a Forbes contributor, and a CNBC Council member and contributor. And we are streaming here live on many different social media platforms. So wherever you're joining me from, jump in, say hello, introduce yourself. It's great to be here with you. Now, let's start and tell you how the market is doing. It's kind of a mixed day. The Dow is currently up 98 points. S&P 500 is up 10. NASDAQ, unfortunately, is down about 7 points today. Market hasn't closed yet. We still got a little ways to go, a little bit more than 30 minutes, half an hour left for the day. But let's start and talk about some of the things that have been happening. The S&P, of course, has risen slightly. The NASDAQ slightly in the negative. But, what we're really watching for, of course, is the continuation of the topic of inflation. Are things going to continue to be pricey? Are they going to get more reasonable? Well, October's Consumer Price Index, or the CPI, actually showed a 2.6% annual rate, which actually matched a lot of the expectations. So core inflation, which excludes food and energy, rose by about 3.3%. Certainly much healthier levels than we've seen in the past. But still, there's probably, I think we can all agree, there's room to go. But most importantly, I've been talking to a lot of people still very much concerned about the price of goods and services at the grocery store and everywhere else. Unfortunately, a big part of that is because previously inflation had already taken place. So things already started getting a lot more expensive. Now they might be moving ahead at a more reasonable rate, but it doesn't discount or wipe away a lot of the built-in inflation already. So that's what we're seeing. And so if you're feeling like things are costing a lot more, perhaps you haven't bought some of the things that you're having to buy now around the holidays. Well, you're certainly not alone. A lot of people are feeling that as well. But let's continue because I want to talk about a big appeal actually in the Dutch courts over emissions reduction and sort of this mandate, if you will. Now, this is being reported by the New York Times, but an appeals court in the Netherlands overturned a previous ruling that required Shell to reduce its carbon emissions by 45% by 2030. Now, I think we can all agree that lowering carbon emissions is probably a good thing. Well, the initial 2020 ruling, viewed as a major climate breakthrough, did position Shell as being responsible for major emission cuts, which, of course, the company contested. In fact, Shell argued that holding one company solely accountable really didn't curb overall oil demand and actually could lead to their competitors simply filling in the gap, yielding to no net emissions reductions at all. So the appeals court ruled that while Shell does have an obligation to reduce their CO2 emissions, but the primary responsibility for regulating emissions lies with the government. And therefore, the environmental group, which is behind the original case, called the verdict a setback for climate movement and for global climate efforts. But nonetheless, the decision has been made. And then the decision now, of course, can still be appealed to the Dutch Supreme Court and similar, other high stakes cases targeting major energy firms continue, not just in the Netherlands, but worldwide. But the ruling does sort of give us some context about the complex debate over the role of corporations and businesses versus governments in achieving these climate goals. And actually, this could actually affect future legal strategies and the whole world of climate litigation as well. So curious to see how you feel about that. Do you feel like that this should have been appealed? Do you feel like this was right? Do you feel like we should hold certain companies, maybe certain example companies responsible? And so this would sort of lead to more climate change. I don't know. I don't have the answers for that, but I'm always interested to see what you feel about that and how you feel overall. A big shout out and welcome. I see many of our friends from all different streaming platforms, and big shout out and welcome to Ross. Actually, one of my Adobe Insider friends on LinkedIn Live. It's great to see you, Ross. Thanks so much for joining us today. Now, let's continue because I want to talk about Boeing. Now, Boeing, we've been talking about them for the last year. Certainly, I don't know. They've just been having a very rough time. But this is being reported by CNBC by Leslie Josephs, talking about how Boeing is facing further delays and sort of restarting production. They've been having strikes. They've been having all sorts of issues. So the 7-week strike by over 30,000 machinists. Now, despite workers returning to factories, this is a big problem. I would argue this: it's not just the fact that they're having a strike, but the fact that you have 32,000 of your employees unhappy with conditions at your workplace. This is a major issue. I think it's something that the company needs to work through if they want to be able to deliver good aircraft, right? Dependable, safe. I mean, happy employees tend to um, pay more attention to quality control and really the quality of the product that's being delivered to the consumer as well. So the machinist recently agreed to a new contract that includes a 38% wage increase over 4 years, ending the strike, of course, that was started on September 13th. But here's the thing: production restarts will require weeks, as well as Boeing is hoping to reestablish some of their safety protocols. Of course, they need to update training and, of course, assess work conditions to make sure that it's actually safe for everybody to come back to work. And most importantly, to start making those planes. Now, sadly, the numbers aren't looking so good. Boeing actually only delivered 14 aircraft in the entire month of October. Now, you might think that's a big number considering how large planes are, but actually, it's the lowest monthly total since November of 2020, with 9 of these being 737 MAX models. Now, you've been following the news and been with me on this show, you know that there's been a lot of concerns about Max model planes in general. In fact, a lot of consumers, I've actually talked to certain travelers who try to, when they book their flight, avoid these Max planes completely. Now, the delays, of course, have widened Boeing's delivery gap with rival Airbus, which delivered 559 aircraft this year compared to Boeing's 305. Now, I don't know, it seems like we've been told that a lot of the issues have gone away and that these 736 MAX models are safe to fly it and whatnot. But nonetheless, it seems like there continue to be some challenges with the company. In fact, Boeing 787 Dreamliner production in South Carolina, fortunately, has remained unaffected by the strike since it operates in a non union factory. But despite these production issues, Boeing has secured 63 aircraft orders in October, including 40 of their 737 MAX 8s for other travel groups. Well, with that, let me know how you feel about that. Do you feel like this is news to you? Do you have concerns? Or do you feel like, this is great? Hopefully, Boeing starts to go in the right direction. I certainly hope so. I hope that they get their employees back and people are happy and they can start creating great transportation flying vehicles that we can feel comfortable getting in as well. Now, speaking of changes, I also wanted to talk about one change that we've been talking about on the show. We've done several shows about this with Netflix subscriptions, and of course, advertising and all that. But get this: this is being reported by The Verge by Emma Roth. Netflix's ad-supported tier now is having its second birthday, I guess. They've now reached 70 million monthly users, up from 40 million in May, just 2 years after they launched this lower cost tier, available in multiple countries, including here in the United States and Japan and the UK. It's become very, very popular because people are looking, for a more reasonable option. And the ad-supported plan now makes up 50% of new signups in markets where it's offered, which reflects the demand of just more affordable pricing of streaming, right? And I just want to mention to you also, usually when we're right around Black Friday, this is a month where you're going to see a lot of deals, not only when you're buying gifts and shopping for things that you need around the house, but also with streaming as well. So if you have a plan or maybe you've been toggling, right? Remember, I talked about the importance of using only one streaming service at a time. That really helps with your household budget. Well, if you are without a plan or you're open to another change, now might be a great time. So definitely pay attention if there's any streaming service that you're looking to add. Put an alert, like on Slick Deals, put an alert, and so that they will let you know if a deal pops up, and then you can consider that if that's something you're in the market for. But yes, so that is what is happening at Netflix. But let's continue on because I want to talk about Home Depot next. This is being shared by CNBC. Now, Home Depot has been actually seems like they're doing pretty well. They're showing some trends that I want to share with you and see your thoughts on this. In addition to doing a little bit better, so that's great for the team at Home Depot, but they're also talking about some consumer trends. And this is something that I really want to discuss with you and get your take on. They're saying that overall consumers continue to be relatively cautious. And of course, with high interest rates and inflation, that this is really still keeping things from getting to be a full-blown party, dampening spending on home improvement projects. People are just aren't spending as much because they don't feel that optimistic. So although the company has, you know, they do feel more optimistic on their long-term forecast, but nonetheless, they think that a lot of us are postponing our remodeling projects because of high borrowing costs, right? The cost of interest, and of course, demands from families of whether they can grow and whether they can move. Now, let's be honest, mortgage rates have been very, very high. So, therefore, when you don't move houses, sometimes you're not in that much of a hurry to do a home improvement project, which then will be felt at companies such as Home Depot and Lowe's and whatnot, right? Home improvement companies, amongst many, many others. But of course, the borrowing costs have been high. But we have seen a drop recently of interest rates. So perhaps that will improve slower, so sooner rather than later. Let me know how you feel about this. Is that been your impression? Have you been into a home improvement store lately? And do you feel like people are just pausing on home improvement trends? I mean, certainly I would think in my household, that's certainly the case. I mean, I can think of one thing that we really need to do. We need to change our sprinkler heads. That's something we need to do. But yeah, I mean, we've been so busy that we just haven't made that trip to the store to do that. But certainly I think we would look at other options, right? Because we want to see something that we need. Is the cheapest and most convenient way the way that we want to spend, or has the consumer spending pattern and shopping pattern changed as well? I think there's that comes to play for sure. All right, let's continue and talk about a story that was shared on CNN. Okay, talking about 23andMe. Now, you've heard about this story before. Genetic testing company 23andMe has announced plans to lay off, get this, 40% of its workforce. Yeah, 40%, that sounds like a big number, and it is, but this gives you an idea. This wasn't a huge company to begin with because 40% makes up about 200 employees. This is part of their major restructuring effort. So, CEO explained that layoffs and discontinuation of therapy development is going to help allow the company to focus more on their core business and sort of their long-term research partnerships. So this restructuring project is hoping to be able to save the company about $35 million annually. And of course, includes exploring licensing deals and potential sales of its therapy assets. So good luck with them as well. If you are working at 23andMe, know that there are options out there for you. And even if you're not working there and you're thinking that you might get laid off, or you hear rumors at your workplace, or people are being offered early retirement packages, know that there's options out there. This is something that we have a lot of experience with, but this is something that, do you know, if you are in that situation, there is certainly help out there. All right. Now let's continue on because I want to talk about something that came out of the Apple newsroom. Okay. Apple's new share item location. I thought this was pretty cool. Part of iOS 18.2, if you've upgraded, is now going to enable users to share the location of your lost items, like AirTags, with third parties. Now, this is cool because this includes airlines. This will help, of course, locate your luggage or other misplaced items. Now, of course, it's currently in beta phase, but this new feature is going to allow users like yourself to generate a secure link through the Find My app and provide an interactive map showing the item's location. Now, these shared links, I like this. They're actually temporary. So they expire after 7 days or once the item is recovered, just so that you know that you can ensure your user privacy. Now, Apple has collaborated now with 15 different airlines, including Delta, United, British Airways, to incorporate the feature into their customer service for tracking delayed or lost luggage. Now, I'm a little disappointed. I don't know if your airline is part of this. I'm not sure if mine is, but I'm definitely going to do a little bit deep diving into that. But airlines and their customer service teams now will be able to authenticate to access shared links, allowing them to more carefully and closely locate and assist with lost luggage and baggage more efficiently. I think we can all agree. I mean, if you've ever lost luggage or had it delayed, this is like definitely something that is very good use of technology. So the Find My network leverages over 1 billion Apple devices globally with end-to-end encryption and, of course, anonymous data to just ensure that your location privacy is in fact private. So I don't know about you, but it seems very smart on Apple's side to share this information right in the middle of November, right before full blown Black Friday and then the holidays, because we know many of you are number one traveling, and number two, we also know many of you are shopping, and so perhaps I'm guessing some of you will be gifting out things like Apple AirTags, which, by the way, I will say in my household, the batteries on many of them need to be changed. So that is something that we need to do. And yes, so on that note, if you didn't know already, the batteries can be changed, and it's pretty easy. Just buy like some standard watch batteries to do that. So good news there. All right, let's continue on because I want to share with you a story that came out on TechCrunch. Now, you know Meta, the parent company of Facebook, where they're going to start changing their ad targeting approach in the European Union, EU, to comply with the Digital Markets Act, or the DMA, which enforces stricter rules on user data and privacy. Now, instead of extensive tracking and profiling now, Meta will have to show less personalized ads to users who opt out of paying for an ad free experience. Now, the new ads will target users based on maybe general data such as location or age, gender, ad engagement, reduces sort of the reliance on detailed tracking across platforms. I also really like if you have your smartphone like on the iPhone that I have, it allows me to say, not allow certain apps to track my information. I pretty much consistently have every app not track my information because I think that's a privacy issue that I'm not comfortable with sharing. But Meta now has also lowered its ad-free subscription costs by 40% in Europe. So this continues to aim to track more paid users who prefer sort of that ad-free experiences. Prices, of course, continue to differ depending on if you're using mobile or if you're using it online. But the shift sort of comes among the ongoing DMA investigation, which challenges Meta's prior pay or consent to track model. So I think this is good. The European Commission has yet to fully endorse Meta's new model, which they say emphasizes, of course, the need for Meta's strict compliance with data protection standards as well. And for those of us here in the United States, I think we like the fact that the EU is being very strict in terms of privacy, because that'll give us sort of a model and a guide that hopefully we can adopt some of those benefits here in the United States as well. So let me know how you think about this. I see comments coming. I gotta share Ross's comments. Um, Ross is saying with home improvement, it's a great indicator how people feel about expendable income. Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that. And then talking about Boeing mistakes and workmanship. Thank you so much, Ross, for your comments. And like, if you have comments like Ross, definitely drop them in. I mean, this is stuff that we love to see, and who knows, maybe I'll even use it and quote it in a future piece of content in the not too distant future. But thank you so much for being a part of today's show. And of course, let's take a look at the market. Hasn't closed yet. Got about 18 minutes left, but the Dow is currently up 116 points. Get this, the Nasdaq has moved positive, up 4 points right now, but it's positive, so that's good. The S&P 500 is also up over 15 points. So currently all in the green. And that's the way we like to end the day. Now, we don't know if that's going to continue to be the case, but nonetheless, most importantly, make sure that you're participating, right? Whatever you do, keep your debt down and make sure that you make plans to save for the future if you can. Thank you so much, my friends, for being a part of today's Level Up Live. Do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated in all the latest content. And of course, to watch past full episodes of Level Up with Winnie Sun, you can check out NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, Samsung, LG, and Roku. And of course, all my streaming platforms as well here. And when sharing an episode online, definitely do what Carla did and tag at Winnie Sun so I can also thank you and appreciate your support on a future episode. Thank you so much, my friends, for being here. And of course, check out Yes Factor with Winnie Sun on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you tune in. And with that, be well. I'll see you again very soon. Bye bye now.